my God. So precious, oh, it's yours, it's mine.
Aloha and welcome to another episode of That Time I Got Arrested. Throwback. Do you guys remember when I used to do interviews? Well, they sucked, but this one's good, I think. I hope. I love the person that I'm interviewing. So I think my new thing is that I'm going to do interviews if I really, really, really fucking like them. Like the interviewee. And if I believe in what they're about and if they feel like they have something to say, and maybe we won't even talk about getting arrested, but this time we did, and I'm so honored to introduce you to Spencer Diaz. Tell me how you say your last name. Tootle? Spencer Diaz Tootle. She's cool as fuck. She's a badass. She's an activist. She's a poet. She's a comedy human being, and actually like a savior. And I'll even go ahead and I'll call you a prophet because I think that you are dope and I would follow you anywhere. So mad love to Spencer. Check her out on Instagram. Check out this interview. Check out iTunes and write a review. Maybe I'll have a new deal for you. Hit me up. Okay, love you. Bye.
Makosa mangulungulu wake.
All right, can you do like a, that was it. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Hi. It's really nice to meet you.
It's nice to meet you too.
Usually I like to open up by like explaining to people how we met, but we literally just met like 5 minutes ago.
Yes.
So we met in the street in front of the studio.
Yes, and Britta got me a coffee, which is great.
Oh, thanks. So I guess I'll just explain how I found you or how I like heard about you, and then we can dive in. So I've been a huge fan of you for a very long time, over a year, particularly your Instagram, because like I said, we've never met in real life, but I'm a huge fan of your Instagram. I can't even like tell you you're my favorite Instagram on Instagram.
Thank you.
Your account is my favorite. For so many reasons. You're actually one of the few Instagrams that I've told friends about. I'm like, hey, you should follow this girl. She's an activist. She's a poet. She's really cool. She's really pretty. Like, and like told people who you have nothing to do with who do now follow you.
Wow.
About you, and you've actually had such a profound impact on my life through one of the most difficult experiences that I've ever gone through. And it's like you didn't even know it, but you were actually my friend, my confidant, my counselor, my encouragement. I mean, I really feel, I don't want to like lay this on you too thick, but like I honestly feel like maybe I would have killed myself if I did not have your Instagram with me through like the last year of my life. So hi, nice to meet you.
Hi. That's not too thick. I am a little speechless, but that is like, I'm really happy that you're here today. So I'm grateful that whatever like, you know, bullshit I'm going through or like putting out in the world or whatever did something good, you know?
Yeah. Coffee is like the
Thank
least
you.
I can do. I owe you my life. I'm so like pleased to make your official acquaintance because I've been such a fan of yours for a long time. But I'll just go ahead and tell you and everyone else how I found you. It's so weird and kind of awkward and a little embarrassing, but I was sitting around with a group of girl comedians. Like I had like a dinner party. I'm not even kidding you, like almost 2 years ago. And we were all talking about different comedians that we thought were cute. And your boyfriend's name came up.
He is cute.
He's cute. He's totally cute. And we were all in agreement that he actually is in fact like a cute guy. And one of the girls in the group was like, hey, he has a girlfriend who's really nice and cool. And I thought that was really interesting because I noticed that girls don't make that kind of effort unless, and this girl isn't like good friends with you at all. I think she kind of knows you like subsidiarily. That's a word. And she was like, yeah, his girlfriend is actually really nice and cool and super smart. You should check out her Instagram. That's what was told to me about you before I ever had any idea.
Wow, I'm like so embarrassed.
No, don't be. This is so good. So, I mean, like, I'm one of those people where I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, totally. I'll like stalk this guy's girlfriend who I've never met.
Also, for everybody listening at home, my Instagram has less than 2,000 followers. I'm not like Instagram famous.
But you are locally,
Well, thank
hometown hero. You know?
Thank you.
So I checked out your Instagram, and I think like your first couple of stories, I was just kind of like, wait, what? Like, who the fuck is this person? And what I thought was so interesting about you in particular was how you presented your information, you know, because I feel like you're on the right side of everything, but the way that you talk to people, the way that you talk to your audience, the way that you talk about the issues that you talk about in particular is so unique because it's so on point, because it's not just this like virtue signaling social justice warrior like bullshit that everyone is on these days. It's more like you mean it. And you can tell, like I could tell that you meant what you were saying because of the way that you said it. And because a lot of your ideas, I think, would almost be classified as extreme. But for me, it was like to figure out the stuff that I had to figure out that you already have figured out. I had to go to prison. Like I didn't know how, I thought I was woke. You know how I feel about that word. I thought I was woke. And then I went to prison and I like saw what shit actually was. And I was like, oh, no one understands any of this on the level that you do. So I'm sorry. That is such a long-winded intro. I talk too much.
No.
This is usually just me.
You don't talk too much. Thank you so much.
Well, as women, we're told that we talk too much when we talk too much, you know?
That's true. I do talk too much. And I really, you know, I push back because as a woman, I deserve to talk. And my very cute boyfriend, he loves to say that I talk more than him, but everybody that knows us says that he talks more than me. But, you know, that's just like a little speck of misogyny in our relationship. But you're not talking too much. I love everything you're saying about me. It's great.
Well, I mean it. I've had some guests on here that I've been sort of like, you know, I haven't done an interview on here in a long time because they did not always go so well. And it was kind of like just talking to people for the sake of like interviewing rather than you're someone who I admire, who I look up to, who I worship in like a weird internet culty way. And I'm just like, I'm in awe of you. And I just want to know like, how the fuck did you wake up so well?
Wow. Okay. Wow. So
I'm just going to smoke pot and listen now.
Yeah.
So go for it.
So like, I grew up in Georgia.
I know.
Yeah.
I know a lot about you.
I grew up in Georgia, poor. My mom is like the daughter of Cuban immigrants. She grew up in Miami. And she grew up like pretty like middle class, you know, like in the 80s and or what, how old is my mom? She turned 18 in 1980. So like in the 70s in Miami, like they had a boat. She got a car on her 16th birthday, like they're pretty white passing Latinos, and like she had a lot of privilege within that community while still being like an immigrant family, blah blah blah. But then that's not how my upbringing was. Like we were poor and she got laid off after September 11th and we were like on and off welfare. We had like the privilege of having a home, like our house. She and my dad bought a house and they never lost the house, but like we were really financially insecure. And so I experienced a lot of shit as a kid that like really frustrated me. Like, you know, how old was I when 9/11 happened? Like 8 or 9. So this was like moving into my like early middle school years and like seeing my mom struggle to get us all glasses and like everybody around me being able to have braces and I couldn't have braces and like being bused along with like all the black kids from like the poor neighborhoods. Like we were all getting bused to our magnet school or whatever, and just seeing the disparity, like it wasn't really ever like lost on me. I feel like I kind of just, I don't know, I just noticed some of that shit. And my dad is he is a white man and he is like one of the most radical people that I know. I mean, that's not really true. Definitely one of the most radical white men that I know. And he really like always encouraged me to explore. Like, I think too, I was also a pain in the ass as a kid. So he would like assign me shit to read literally like out of a fucking encyclopedia, like be like, go read the section on amphibians or whatever, just to like occupy me because I was like pretty obnoxious and hyperactive.
And you have sisters too.
I have an older sister, a younger sister, and a little brother.
Whoa.
Big family, yeah. But my dad, I remember like one time we were having this conversation when I was like 7 or so, and we were talking about medicine, and like people not having access to medicine, and like this was even before my mom lost her job and shit. And I like this was such a like formative moment in my life because I was like, well, Dad, like if they don't have medicine, like why isn't medicine just free? Blah, blah, blah. And he sort of jokingly was like, oh, Spenny, like you're a little communist. And yeah, and I had no idea what that meant, obviously, because I was a kid. But like
How
I
old
went
were you?
like 7 or 8 maybe.
Dope. That's a great time to be a communist.
It's a great time. And he like gave me that word, and I went home and like, because we didn't live together at the time, and like looked it up in our encyclopedias and was like, you know, of course so much of it was lost on me, but like I feel like my dad really gave me a lot of like political language and also like the freedom to think and like encouraged that. My mom for like a little while got us like in on scholarship for like a year or 2 years at this Catholic school, and my dad had a big problem with that and was
Yikes.
constantly he was like always pushing against it.
Like Cuban though, so of course. You
Right,
know?
exactly. So my mom is like, oh my God, this is the height of our like, this is my like, my kids are in fucking Catholic school, like this is amazing. And my dad, who grew up like in the South in like a Southern Baptist family, and like, you know, he's really against organized religion and whatever, so he would like tell me a lot, you know, he'd be like helping me learn my act of contrition prayer and be like, but Spenny, like you don't have to believe this, and kind of like always encouraging me to think, which I really value because I never like, he really pushed me to question authority and whatever. And it's complicated, you know, my neither, like he's no saint. I love him, he's wonderful, but he is not a saint. But like he gave me a lot of freedom to think, which was important. And then other than that, I feel like I am like not, I mean, yeah, we talked a little bit earlier off recording about the word woke. Like I do not consider myself to be woke or whatever. I don't even really know what that means.
That's really woke of you to say though.
Oh yeah, it is like I'm so woke that I'm anti-woke.
Same.
Yeah,
But I
exactly.
mean, you can't really say that about yourself. But
Well,
yeah, I get it.
But like I just try to like, I think a big problem, I'm gonna woke explain now. I think like we're like afraid, and I'm not talking about cancel culture. Like I'm not like saying like people are afraid of being canceled, but it's like people are afraid of change or like disruption in systems, and like that is why I think a lot of times maybe folks like cling to other notions or even like cling to the idea that they don't have the authority to speak on something for whatever reason, you know. And it's like fuck that, like I'm gonna say what I think, how I think it, and sometimes I'm really wrong, or I'm like forgetting something or leaving someone out of the room, or like I don't have all the information, but like I really want to strive to like be open to learning all the, like if you know, if somebody says, hey, you're not thinking about this, like that's a gift that they're giving to me. That's not like, you know, like people don't want to be checked or like called out, but like I always want to be called in, and like that.
Oh, great phrasing.
Yeah, I love that phrasing. That, and that's like not mine. That I have learned in like activist spaces, you know, because like we are all coming from different frames of reference, and like if we're all gonna work together to move towards like my dream of like this, you know, revolution and like beautiful socialism and abundance and joy for all, and like whatever terms we want to use, just like people being able to live their lives with dignity and compassion, then we have to be able to listen to each other. And that's like the whole, this is kind of a tangent, but like I went to see Roxane Gay and Gloria Steinem speak a few years ago.
Tight.
Yeah, it was really tight, and like love them both, and like, and also, you know, I recognize a myriad of leaders alongside Gloria Steinem. She's not like my white feminist icon. Not that she is a white feminist, but she is a white feminist. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, but she told this cool story about how like she went to India, and like all these people were in this community. They like were like a lot of their daughters were being lost to like human trafficking, and like some, like it was very terrible. And So all these people were thinking of these like top-down solutions and like, you know, policing the village more heavily and da-da-da-da. And she sat in a story circle with all these women and like talked with them about what they thought would work. And they were like, well, basically these elephants are like grazing in our field and they're eating all of our crop. So we like can't sell our crop. So our little village, like our economy is getting fucked up and like we don't know what to do, and that's like leading to this desperation that's leading to this like brutality and like our daughters being like, you know, used as prophets or whatever, like profits like money, not like messenger profits. Anyway, and so she was like, okay, so what do we need to do? And they just needed a fucking electric fence to go around this like 1,200 acre little farmland. So she like went back to America and raised the money for this fence and came back, and it was like this very easy, not easy, but like a lot easier of a fix than all of these top down ideas. And basically I say all this to say that like we just have to listen to people, and that's what I try to do, because I don't have all the answers and I'm wrong a lot, but it's okay to be wrong. It's you know, if we like
I know,
win.
but I couldn't disagree with you more about that.
Oh, thank you. I mean, but on it, you know, nothing that's in other than me being 7 years old and thinking medicine should be free, like that was my original thought. But beyond that, anything that I like know or that you've heard me speak about, like somebody else has generously like planted that seed in my brain.
So humble.
Well, thank you. I mean, it's true though. And it's like, I've also like, I don't know, now I'm high, so I'm thinking about like humility, and it's like, it's not that humble because I do see myself as a part of this movement, and like this is shared knowledge. So like, I don't want to take credit for it just by myself. But I am like a part of this massive amoeba, you know, like, and we're all
Mimetic
like,
theory, actually.
Mhm. What?
It's called mimetic theory. So like memes originated from this concept created by Howard Bloom, that ideas act like bacteria.
cool.
And so they change and they evolve and they spread and they affect people on an emotional level, you know, but it's like thought, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, you've heard of hive mind before, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like in that whole sphere.
Cool. See, now I learned about that, and now I can scream about it on my Instagram.
Well, that's why I love to tell people when I'm gossiping that it's actually healthy and good, because that's mimetic theory, and that's how
Love
we like
it.
come together as a tribe, you know?
That's cool. Sometimes. Yeah. Jeez, me. That's funny. I feel like I just talked for a really long time, but it's okay. We'll talk.
I know, we're such progressive women. We're just both
We're-
going to be like,
yeah.
no, you go. But I love your Instagram. I love you. I love your ideas. I love how vocal you are, because I do think that as open as I am about certain things, like I'm really into like the drug movement, as far as just letting drugs be like legal and changing the way that we deal with addiction and that we deal with consuming substances, and like autonomy over our freedom of like of body and self. And that sort of extends to like a big activist role that you take, which is like autonomy over like a woman's body to like, you know, the right to like choose to have an abortion, or like I mean that goes so far into so many other aspects of like the right to have autonomy in your body, but that's the one I'm thinking of the most, because like that's what I've connected to the most on your Instagram. And I have never been public about like my abortion, but listening to you talk,
I'm snapping for you.
Oh,
Snap,
thank
snap,
you.
snap. Okay, keep going.
listening to you talk about yours, it changed my life in a way where that was like the hardest, most shameful thing that I had to go through, and it just made me feel so much less alone. It made me feel so understood. It made me feel so accepted, and it honestly like made me feel okay in a time where, you know, it was like my family, you know, even like my social circle to a certain extent, it felt so much like judgment, and it was like a secret. Basically, it was like this dirty little secret that I had, that I was carrying with, that was like like eating away at me. And it sounds so stupid, but something as simple as just like scrolling through your Instagram, like I would literally, and I think I like messaged you a couple of times being like, I'm crying, I love you, you're saving my life, like a creep, like you never met me and you're just
You're
like,
not a
okay.
creep. No.
Well, just like, you're like, okay, cool girl that I don't know, like that.
No, I love it. Like that's so Thank you for sharing that. First of all, thank you.
Thank you for sharing everything that you've shared. And I don't want to like share on your behalf, but just know that like the impact that you have has like such a deep ripple effect. And like,
Thank you.
we're sitting here today. 'cause
Yeah,
of
we're
it.
here. So like, for those of you listening at home or wherever, I've had 3 abortions.
Stepping for you.
Thank you. Yeah. It's wild. I know, stigma is so fucked up. And I'm sure some people who just heard that right now were like, 3? Wow. Like, damn. And to that, I say, like, have your thoughts, but recognize that that's really fueled by stigma and whatever. I'm not going to argue with you when I'm supposing that you're thinking this in the first place, blah, blah, blah. But I'm so, like, abortion is so normal and natural and like it predates Christianity
Fuck yeah.
and colonization and capitalism and all that shit, and like it's an ancient knowledge and wisdom, and I really believe that like abortion, like one of the reasons that the stigma is like so perpetuated and everything is like because the school to prison pipeline goes hand in hand with the school to parenthood pipeline.
Yeah.
And it's like ensuring the the like cycle of poverty and like keeping entire communities from having this like control over their lives. It's not just like it doesn't just make people like unable to succeed financially, but it's also like a trauma to be like forced to carry a pregnancy that you don't want to carry and forced to give birth, and like that is such psychological trauma and physiological, I don't know, or just physical trauma that we're
Yeah.
forcing upon people. It's really fucked up, and it's really important to me. I had my first abortion when I was 20 and I was in Georgia, and like me and my boyfriend, like he came from a really Christian family and like was really beside himself at what his parents would think, which was a lot for me to like kind of deal with from his end. Also a lot of emotional labor for me, but I was like really sure of what I wanted to do and like what was best for us. Anyway, we had to travel like 3 hours to the nearest clinic. It was horrible. There were like anti-choice people outside.
Yeah.
An old ass man threw milk on me when I like left the clinic.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's like that shit you read about.
Yeah.
My other 2 abortions, much less dramatic, in Chicago. Pretty chill, you know.
As
a
it
normal
should
thing.
be.
It really should be. That's like, I think about them so much. Like, there's just so many ways that even we that are pro-choice and pro-access, which is like a really big thing in like, the abortion funding movement, that like choice is not enough because it's so cost prohibitive and like
That's right. It's so expensive.
it's so expensive for the reason is just to oppress people. It's really fucked up.
Oppress poor people because the more kids they have, the more like the cycle it continues. And like
Exactly.
when you realize all that stuff is connected, you're just kind of like, how the fuck is anyone supposed to fucking live?
Right.
No
It's
wonder-
so fucked up.
People are so angry. No wonder there are so many like there's so much violence and like drug use. It's like that. It all feeds into itself, and it's just kind of like, fuck.
Yeah, and like people know what's best for them and what's best. Like the majority of people, over 50% of people having abortions have already had an abortion. Or wait, is that true? I can't remember if that's true. So maybe that's not true. But what is true is that over 50% of people who have abortions already have kids. So it's like these people know what is good for their families, like, and just there's just so much nasty stigma. Even like with the way that, I like to ask this question of people and say, like, if I told you I was having an abortion, would you feel more worried about me and my like well-being than if I told you I was getting my wisdom teeth pulled? Because like when I get my wisdom teeth pulled, I have to like go to sleep. You're extracting pieces of my permanent skeleton from my fucking skull. Like it's unlike anything. You can like, you're at serious risk for having an infection afterwards, like with a dry socket or whatever. I haven't had my wisdom teeth pulled, but blah blah blah.
I have. It's awful.
I've heard it's awful. I have had a tooth pulled because of shitty dental care when I was a kid and on welfare. Peach care in Georgia sucks. But anyway, but like with an abortion, it's like you don't even have to go to sleep. You're really not at risk for an infection afterwards. You can literally like, I told my boss one day, he said something about how he would like never want to put his wife through an abortion. And I was like, I had an abortion and came to work for you the next day. And he was like, what? Like he looked very alarmed. But it's just like not, there's so much shit surrounding it, and it shouldn't be, in my opinion, it just shouldn't be such a thing. Like, it's a really normal thing, as normal as pregnancy, as normal as birth. Actually, maybe even more normal than birth. I think.
Before I had an abortion,
Mm-hmm.
I wrote a joke that is sort of painful for me to do now, and I don't really do it as much anymore. But I wrote a joke because I've thought in my head, and that's one of the weird things that I've noticed about being quote unquote woke. It's like you can think that you are something until you go through that situation yourself. Like I wrote a joke about having 12 abortions. I've driven several friends to get abortions. If anyone that I know under the age of 30 gets pregnant, I'm like, do you need a ride to a clinic? You know, or I'm just like, you should kill it anyways. Just like there's too many people on this earth. So I thought that I was like, in my head and in my heart, I thought I was so much further along until I was actually in that situation myself, and then just felt all of the things that I'm like, you know, logically I know this is wrong, but like emotionally and like in a weird way, like spiritually, I'm like, there's been so much generational brainwash over the course of like even like a young, like conscious, like rebellious person's life that the moment I was in that situation, I was like, fuck, you know, like, and I really felt the pressure of that, and I felt like the stigma of it almost immediately, and I didn't want to tell anyone I was pregnant, and I didn't want to like tell anyone I was getting an abortion, and I knew that like if my family knew, it would be like they would be upset, you know, and then I didn't think the fucking joke that I wrote, I didn't think it was funny anymore, and it just like it like hurt me, you know, and I was really surprised that I felt all of those things. And not to like beat a dead horse, but really if it wasn't for your Instagram and just feeling like hearing all of those things, that I needed someone to tell me very explicitly of like, this is healthcare, this is normal, this is actually good for you, because I was not in a situation where I could have had a baby with the person who got me pregnant, you know, like that would have been a life ruiner for both of us, just because we were in a bad place and like, you know, like that, it wasn't a good relationship. So I mean, like, I'm grateful to you, but it's almost like I don't even know how to take that all in and internalize it in a way that makes me like a more progressive person, because it's like I already thought I was so far further than I was until I was in that situation. And then I was like, oh, here are all of this like repressed, you know, brainwashing sort of like thinking that so many people feel and that trap them. My mother had me at a very young age, and my dad told me once that the reason that she had me so young in such a bad situation is because she had already had several abortions and felt like she could never get pregnant again, you know, which is not true at all. If anything, like I feel like you're more fertile afterwards because your cervix is like looser, you know, or like softer.
Yeah, dude, I'm so sorry. Well, thank you for sharing all of that, and like, and I'm sorry that the world is so shitty. I think something that I love, so Sister Song is a reproductive justice organization in Atlanta, Georgia, and it's like all women of color, and they coined this like phrase and explanation, this reproductive justice like being the actual phrase, and they define it. And I'm like, this is a loose definition, but it's like to parent or not, the right to parent or not parent with dignity. And I really love that idea too, that like reproductive justice even spans like beyond abortion. It's like making sure that we have sustainable communities. Like I feel really passionate about abortion access because to me, it's at the intersection of so many injustices, like racial, socioeconomic, gender, obviously.
Violence even.
Violence. Like it really is at the intersection of all these injustices or justices. And like people deserve the right to do what they want with their bodies. And I think that includes also parenting. Like the world is like we could say it's overpopulated right now. And also like, I would argue that the issue is more about overconsumption, and like it gets a little bit tricky and hairy if we like in my opinion, start to go to like this place of overpopulation, because then it's like, well, who isn't going to be allowed to have kids or whatever? It's always going to be the poor people. And then we're like almost getting into like eugenics of like race control and shit like that,
Oh, word.
which is like
No, you're
kind
so
of
right.
a mind fuck. But
Yeah.
yeah, but like that's what I love about the work. Like the way that I've learned about this shit is like people that, so there's abortion funds all over, and this like network of them, the National Network of Abortion Funds. And also there are many other organizations, but people like sharing strategy and ideology, like very strategically, like it's this movement, again, like thinking about the amoeba, like moving through and assessing need and like sending resources to where the needs are. And like, that's a concept that I like never, the idea of people being like us not thinking of the world as devoid of resources or like overpopulated or whatever, until somebody like gently pointed that out to me, and I was like, oh shit, like, yeah, because it shouldn't, because like the rich people are always going to be able to have their babies, and they're
Mhm.
always going to be able to have their abortions, and it's us down here who are like having our choices diminished in either direction, which is just not fair. Anyway, yeah, that was like long and convoluted.
No, that
Yeah.
made perfect sense. And
Mhm.
you're amazing.
You're amazing. I'm so happy to be here. And it's really cool of you to talk about your abortion. It's like, no pressure to anybody, but I think like for me being a performer and shit, like you're a performer, stigma busting, quote unquote, maybe that's a corny phrase, but like stigma busting, I think is so important. And that's something I'm happy. I don't know if even happy is the right word, but I feel really proud. I'm going to say this is vulnerable, but I'm going to say it. I feel really proud to know that like me doing the scary thing and like talking about my abortion so publicly did what I wanted it to do, which is to like connect with you and help you feel like that. I'm like tearing up for real. It's kind of like, I feel like maybe when you were saying really nice stuff, I was like feeling like almost dissociating, because I was like, this is so nice. And now I'm like really feeling it. I'm like, damn. Yeah, it's like that. People deserve to know that it's normal. And anyway, it's really cool that you just shared your abortion story. So like, I want to applaud you on that. That's really brave.
Thank you. I wouldn't have done it without you. And I literally tell everyone everything about me on this podcast. And that was probably like and like on social media too. Like I would consider myself to be so open. And I had that joke about having 12 abortions. And I thought that was funny until I had an abortion.
Yeah.
And then I felt this immediate like fear. I felt the stigma. I felt all of that. And it's just like until someone does it for you, like you don't feel, especially as a woman, like you don't feel the permission to be like, oh, that's actually like chill and good and like okay for me to, like
yeah,
do it too.
I think about sometimes, and like, I don't know, this is my philosophy. I'm not going to like push it on anybody, but like, I'm here for
No, push it on everyone.
Well,
'Cause
yeah.
you've got it all figured out.
I'm learning. It's a process. But like, I'm here for the rape jokes. I'm here for the abortion jokes. I'm here for like whatever,
Bless
like
you.
bless you. Here for like all of your, like all, or not your, but anybody's jokes on anything. But like, they've got to be good and they've got to be earned. And more, I feel like folks who don't have the lived experience that they're seeking to like share, and even not in joke form, just like, a white man trying to write like a story from the perspective of a Black woman. Like, I feel like when it comes to trauma that like is inherent in like an identity or an experience or whatever, unless you've experienced it, often like it's hard to hold it as tenderly as it deserves to be held. And like, if you can't do that, then like you're not going to be able to I think not find the humor in it that's like really actually hard hitting, or not like have a character that is like as dynamic as is deserving of that identity, or of any character, because like we can just never really, like, you can't be inside of something unless you're inside of it,
Yeah.
I don't know. So yeah, I have definitely heard a lot of abortion jokes that it's pretty clear to me that the person hasn't had an abortion. And I'm like, cool. And it's not like that I'm from a place of like, oh, this is harming me, or I'm like so triggered, or da. And if I did have those feelings, that's okay too. But it's not that I'm coming from that place. It's just like, oh, I can see that you don't like, you haven't experienced this. And I don't expect people to be like, I'm not sad about my abortions. I celebrate them. I see them as linked to my like dynamite sexuality. I think they're fucking cool. Like my abortions are lit. It's not that I want anybody to be
It's the
sad.
most amazing thing I've ever heard. Keep
Thank
going.
you. It's not that I want people to be sad about them, but like I just really hear what you're saying, that maybe, you know, trying to find humor in something that is like so complex and also something that you haven't personally experienced can be really difficult. And yeah. And I've been there too. I've really had to do away with some things I've written, much like all my pregnancies.
Okay, I love you. I'm obsessed. So we also have something else in common, which I think
Yes.
is really fun and cool. And it's funny that we have the same sort of misunderstanding. Like if you tell someone you've been arrested 4 times, they're like, oh, for protesting, right?
They're like, you were in DC? And I'm like, no.
People have said the same thing to me when they're like, oh, you've been arrested over 100 times. And they're like, oh, for protesting. Almost like I'm a fucking pussy. And I'm like, no. Like hard drugs. Keep it moving. Let's go.
Absolutely. You want me to tell you my arrests about my stories?
Yes.
All my fun stories?
I mean, yeah, if you would be so
Oh, yeah,
kind.
absolutely. So I've been arrested 4 times and
Which like dope.
thank you. I mean,
Because you don't look like it.
I guess. Yeah, no, I definitely don't. Which is like, it's so fucked. That's such an interesting thing too, because I think like anybody can look like a criminal, but not everybody looks like they're likely to get arrested.
Right.
Because like everybody does crime, but not everybody gets arrested.
Right.
And like, yeah, and I look like very white. So it's like,
It's like the benefit, like in a weird way, to being able to get away with so much stuff is like if you just look like you're. I'm like I once I realized that, because I didn't always understand that dynamic, and it was after like going to prison and then becoming more aware of like the law and the way that I was being like profiled, then I really like leaned into it, and I was like, okay, I will carry like a ugly bag that costs a little bit more because I know what it makes people think when I walk around with it.
Right.
And it's like I'll dress in like neutral colors. I used to wear a lot of like bright patterns because like full hippie, like a hippie threw up on me is like how I used to dress, and now I'm like
you really like a lot of psychedelic drugs.
yeah, and it's like, and I didn't see anything wrong with dressing like that, and then it was like after getting out of jail, I was like, okay, if I dress like that, like they're gonna know that I'm on drugs, so now I'm like monotone, like lots of black, like neutral, like if I look more normal, I can get away with more, and now that I get that, I'm like, it like bums me out a little bit, but then it works in my favor because I get hassled by cops, probably like 70% less than I used to.
It's yeah, and it bears noting that like obviously some people can't just change their clothes because they're racially profiled, which is, it's such a weird thing to be such a white passing Latina, know, and like have it, that's like a whole other conversation. But the first time I was arrested, I was 18 and
Starting young, I love it.
This one is like, maybe this one might be the most embarrassing to me. I don't know. Not that I'm embarrassed by anything in my life, but whatever. So I was 18. I was going home from college, which I did not graduate from college. I got kicked out of college, but
Dope.
just for grades and shit. I was like really, I was like really unwell and like just super mentally ill. That's also a whole other conversation, but I just was like not doing anything and like never going to class and blah, 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 blah.
Where did you go to school?
University of Georgia. Go Dogs.
Okay. Where is that?
Athens, Georgia. It's like an hour and a half away from Atlanta.
Yeah. I went to college in North Carolina.
Okay, cool.
In Asheville, so like
okay, cool.
we used to go to Atlanta a lot. Okay,
yes.
I'm sorry. Go on.
No, that's okay. So we came home. It was like holiday, winter, Christmas, whatever the fuck break, and my roommate and our little sisters went to the high school that we went to. We picked them up from school, and we were like, my sister was like, let's have Michelle, my roommate, drop us off at Target. And I'm going to pick up a present because it's my friend's birthday. And like, as I said, we grew up really poor, no money to spare. And I was like, Mom gave you money to get a present for someone's birthday? What are you talking about? And she was like, no, I'm just going to steal something. And I had been shoplifting a lot since I got to school. I was like, I'm in control now. Like, we would like, I was just shoplifting all the time.
It's such a strange addiction.
It's a strange addiction. And
But it's
yeah,
fun,
but it
though.
is fun. And I was like I was not,
Does it get you high? It gets me high.
it gets me high. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like was not stealing. I wasn't stealing anything cool. I was stealing like very low cost things.
That's good to start.
But it was
if
good to
you're
start.
listening.
if yeah, and God. And so we go to this Target, and me and my sister and her friend walk around for an hour and a half, very high off shoplifting, acting like idiots, just like for an hour and a half, like stealing like makeup and headbands and blah, 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 like
Smart.
everything that we want.
That shit is expensive, and it's like oppressive that women have to buy that kind
Right,
of
and
stuff
I wanted
anyways.
it, and I fucking wanted it, and fuck Target, like
Fuck
not,
Target.
like I go to Target a lot, but fuck
Fuck them,
Target,
though.
and like come on, I wasn't hurting anybody. I'm not like harming anybody's livelihood. Anyway, we're on our fucking way out of the store. Keep in mind, I have just gotten back to Savannah. I have not even seen my mom like for holiday break yet. This is the first time she's seen me since I went off to
Freshman year.
college. Yeah, I'm freshly 18, and I am walking out, and like this like secret shopper dude, whatever, like stops us. And if I knew then what I know now, I would have just run, because they cannot chase you through the parking lot. But I didn't know that, and I was
Fun
like
fact.
so scared, and like went back in and whatever. And then we had to wait. Like my sister and her friend were both 15, so we had to wait for all of our parents to come and get them. And then they like saw me be arrested and like let out of the store. It's like Christmas break. The cop that was arresting me was such an asshole, and had like just like made me wait in handcuffs at the front of the store while he like shopped for his kid, and like said like really weird shit to me. I know.
Interesting choice.
I was so embarrassed, and now 10 years later, like more secure in my politics, and like more understanding of them, I'm like, fuck all of that. That whole situation, I was not hurting anybody, and like we don't deserve to, like, I don't believe in punitive justice. I just think all of that is such bullshit. But it still was at the time a very like shaming experience and all that. My mom was so mad. I went to jail. I was in jail overnight.
Wow, they took you all the way
Oh yeah.
in?
Oh yeah. Because
How
I was
much
18.
was it total?
That I was stealing.
Yeah.
Oh, not, I don't know, less than $500 worth of things.
Wow.
Probably less than $100. No, I mean, makeup's expensive. So probably around there. But I went to jail. I was there. I like ran into people that I went to middle school with. And
Working or also in custody?
No, also in custody. And like, this is sad though. Like this one woman who was 18 like me, she had also been shoplifting, and I was like, what are you shoplifting for? And she was like, clothes for my baby I'm about to have. And I was like, holy shit, I feel like the smallest, most like bratty, privileged little white bitch in the world right now. Like, why? I'm just,
Jail will do that to you.
yeah, and I'm like just ruining my mom's time and ruining my own time and whatever. So I was in jail for like a day.
Wow, they kept you overnight.
It was
That's
And,
so serious for your first time.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. It was, it's a lot. I must say a lot of like more privilege and a lot less serious than a lot of folks first brushed with the cops. But yeah, it fucking sucked. And that was jail. And then I had to like go to court. Obviously, the judge was a real dick to me and made me like do a twirl in the fucking courtroom.
A twirl?
Yeah, to like show an example of like, this isn't the kind of little girl you'd expect to be shoplifting.
That
like,
is so fucked up.
yeah, dude, this like old man judge was so nasty to me.
That makes me sick, but that's just like, that is so the standard of how like young white passing women, even more like Hispanic women in particular,
Yeah.
are treated so subservient,
Right.
so immediately sexualized. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like pigeonholed, like you're just a little woman, like how, like stealing makeup, almost like it's a joke.
Right.
You know?
It was really icky. And
Yeah.
yeah. So that was my first arrest.
That makes me so mad. Did you have to do community service?
I had to do community service. Yeah. I'm so glad we're talking about this. I haven't like talked about it in a long time. So I did community service the summer after my freshman year of college. There was like I was on probation for a year or two. But so community service.
Whoa, that's so serious.
Yeah, they were like really serious. They were mad at me. Target was so serious.
God.
They were mad.
Target's like literally the worst too. They donated in Minnesota like $250,000 to some senator who wanted to make it illegal, like a jailable offense for homosexuals to kiss in public.
Fucked up.
So ever since then, I've just been like, you should steal as much from Target
We
as you possibly
should.
can. I can't because I'm really close to getting my sentence pardoned.
Okay.
I have like 6 or 7 more months to go before I qualify for a pardon. Because I went to prison, I can't get it expunged.
Mm-hmm.
But so I'm really close. So I can't do it right now. But when I have a clean record,
Then you can. Yeah, I'm neither going to confirm nor deny that I shoplifted ever, except for that one time that I went to jail for it.
Right. And also, but everyone who's listening, you should steal from Target all the time.
Yeah, totally. But
every
don't,
day, like one thing from Target every day.
Just one thing.
Make it fair.
Fuck Target. Fuck them all. My dad, this like great sort of like moral compass, in his way. When we spoke after that arrest, he was like, Spenny, like, I don't think that you're
Spenny.
That's what he calls me. Yeah, he's like, I don't think that you're bad for shoplifting from Target, but you have to learn that there are some rules you have to follow.
Yeah.
And like, kind of, yeah. And I was like, okay, well, I think I learned that while I was in jail. Like, thank you, but also
Learn not to get caught.
I learned not to get caught. Right.
Become better
Yeah.
at shoplifting. Don't stop shoplifting.
But my mom was really, like it really upset her. She like, and that sucked.
That Catholic guilt will
Yes,
get you.
exactly. Because
It's a mind fuck for
Right.
your entire life. And then
Yeah.
like even by proxy, like even if you're a child of someone who was raised very intensely Catholic, it's still like a mind fuck because as much as I'm like, I can do whatever the fuck I want, like God's not real in the traditional sense, you know? But it's like I feel that like, oh, you're bad because of certain things, and it's like hard to break free of that, like I don't even know what to call it, that like mental, block.
yeah, it really is like, it's not a joke. Like we say like Catholic guilt in our society, like it's such a pervasive like stereotype or like, I don't know, whatever, like assumed psychosis kind of thing. But it's like, cause it's a real fucking thing. Yeah. So she really didn't like it. They separated me and my sister for like the whole holiday. My little sister, she went and did everything with my dad, and I had to be with my mom.
One now.
Cause we just and that was really sad. That was my parents' chosen like punishment.
That's a mean one.
It was really mean, but
Yeah.
it was cool. I got to be with my older sister, and that was great. But like, yeah, that was tough. Yeah, and then I didn't get arrested for a while. I made it like a few years. And then this was just some fuck shit. Like the way that the system is just like so stupid. So I like got a speeding ticket in some like little like small county, rural county in Georgia.
Oh yeah.
Yes, I did. A big one.
I
It
know
was
where
like
you're
a
going
super
with this.
speeder. Yeah. And so I like
Why would you pay that?
Yeah, well, I did. That's the thing, is I paid not all of it though. I sent in like a payment because this handwritten ticket had an amount on it. This is like what's so bullshit. I was really trying. I was like, I'm going to pay it. So I sent it $130, but the ticket was actually $180, but it like looked like whatever. And then they're like, okay, you still owe us $50, or you have to like, when you get a ticket, like either come to court or pay the ticket. So they sent like information or whatever to like what my public or permanent address was, which was my mom's house, but my mom wasn't like living in the house at the time. She was like renting the house out and so I like didn't get the notification, whatever. So then they pulled me over for like my tail light being out, and unbeknownst to me, my license had been suspended because I hadn't cleared up this ticket. So I was driving on a suspended license, so they arrest me. So I go to
Tow
jail.
your car, arrest you,
Yeah, all that
search you,
shit. Yeah.
just to make sure you don't have any drugs.
All that shit is so awful, rude, nasty, gross, like male cops in Athens,
Like you
Georgia.
did anything wrong other than like,
Right.
not pay a fine.
Yeah, I'm just like, okay, exactly. And so I go to jail for that. That was just
psycho.
like very psycho, but just like an overnighter again. And then they're like, so come in, you have to clear up this ticket and then your license or whatever. And like,
I wish we would have met in jail, even though I know that's fucking weird.
it would have been
to
fun.
say.
Dude, I like my friends from my like last, or was it the last time in jail? My friends from my third time in jail, I was in there for like 9 days, and I still stay in touch with a lot of those bitches. Like, we're good friends.
Okay,
Anyway,
no, wait,
yeah.
tell me that story.
Okay, so that story. So it's still to do with this ticket thing. I like
Same ticket? So
Paid-
wait, what happened the last time? They didn't say time served?
no. So I still had to pay the little $50 discrepancy or whatever.
Jesus Christ, Georgia.
Yeah. So I did that, but then you have to like bring your shit in and like show the judge that you've done it or whatever, which I didn't realize about that. They sent another fucking bench warrant. Again, same issue, which like I should have learned maybe after the first time, but I don't know. Also, like, fuck that.
Well, it's in our Cuban nature to rebel.
Right. I just like don't care about your bureaucracy and like what are you gonna really do to me?
Like
it's-
literally so
yeah.
Cuban of you.
It's like I just don't care. So then they had like a bench warrant for me in the county where I was living. So they like came to my house and picked me up.
What?
I didn't know any of this. They just
For
like
$50?
over $50 and like missing court at that point. So I had like missed court to prove that I had paid the $50. Right. So like imagine just like this is just so fucked up. Like literally over $50 and like and like because my mom doesn't live in her house basically, like, so I'm not getting my mail, which no shade to my mom, she was like doing her thing. This is so stupid.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I like go to jail this time.
No shade to your mom.
No shade to my mom, she's great. She was like making, you know, the savvy business decision to like rent out her house. She's living her life. I'm just not getting this fucking mail. Anyway, they come to my house, arrest me, and it's like a Monday night or whatever. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I have to go to jail right now. Like, what? And they're like, don't worry about it. Like, which again, they're like they're being assholes to me, but they're also being nicer to me than they would be to other people. But they're like, you will go to jail and like you have to go to court because you have like a bench warrant that you didn't, you know, whatever. So that means that you'll go to jail tonight and you'll go on court call on Wednesday morning. That'll be
Was
like
it Tuesday night?
it was Monday night. So
Okay.
I was like, okay, whatever. I'll
That's
just
still a
it
long
sucks.
time.
If I'm gonna go to jail for 2 days, it's gonna be fine. Like whatever. I've been here.
I was just gonna say you've
It's
done
chill.
it before.
Yeah, like I'm gonna be okay. I'm a big girl.
But that's still so fucked up. Like, what about your job? What about your
At my school, it was like finals. Well, here's the thing: is that at the time I was like not technically in school, but nobody in my life really knew that anyway. That's part of this whole thing. Is I was like going through some mental health shit where like even more than normal, my like. I don't know what the fucking psychological term is. My executive functioning or whatever, where you're like getting your shit done, I think is the fancy way that they people say it. But I just like wasn't doing anything. So I did have a job. I was hostessing at the Outback Steakhouse, but it was chill. That was fine. So
Outback is really chill. Like that.
yeah, dude. I was an asshole at that Outback. Anyway, so I like go to jail and then on Tuesday morning they like post the list of the court call for Wednesday, and I'm talking to my dad on the phone from the jail and he's like, oh, you're not on the court call list actually. And I was like, what? Then I found out that in order to be on that on Wednesday you have to have been processed by like Monday at noon, and they arrested me Monday night. So then I just had to wait until the following Wednesday. Like they wouldn't let me out because I had missed court. So I'm like, whatever. I'm, you know, I guess a flight risk for this literal traffic violation.
Again, so psycho.
So, such a waste of resources.
Yeah.
And like just ridiculous.
No, but they wouldn't have jobs if they didn't do stuff
Right,
like this to people
right.
like you.
It's so ridiculous. So I was in jail, and I had to wait for like 9 days until I could go to court, and then I was done with time served. And
That's psycho.
it was psycho, and the jail was really fucked up. It was like under construction, had been under construction. There were like women. We were on this one block. It was very small. The whole time I was there in 9 days, like I didn't get to go outside at all.
Mm-hmm.
Which and like there were women there that were like, I've been here, like I violated my probation or whatever, so I'm like sitting in jail waiting until a bed opens for me in prison, and I've been in here for 6 months and I haven't been outside. Like
Yeah.
shit was so fucked up. So
Yeah.
that was another big like formative experience for me, I think, with like just, I mean, obviously a lot of people have it a lot worse than me, but still that was like really traumatic, and like being really confronted and actually like seeing folks who are so abused by the system and shit, like moms who like are struggling to feed their kids or whatever, so they like decide, or not even struggling to feed their kids, doing whatever the fuck they want, but doing things that are not violent or mean or like hurting anybody, and then like being in prison and all these families torn apart, and like it was just so fucked up.
Yeah, lose your job, like racks up even more debt that you can't pay, and then just puts you in a position where you're like, well, I guess crime is my only fucking option, and then you end up right back there, and then
Right.
it's just like, okay, this is how they reframed slavery,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and it's like they just included like they made it into a class thing. It's not just people of color. I mean, it is predominantly black
yeah.
people, but like it's more just like if you're poor,
Yeah.
you are fucked.
You're fucked, and then
Yeah.
you can't vote. Like you're disenfranchised, and it's really really nasty. Yeah. So that was my third arrest. The fourth arrest, I'll tell you now.
I can't
yeah.
wait.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this one, I also like. This one's complicated. I mean, not really. It was a DUI. Not so complicated.
That is complicated though.
Yeah, I feel
Because it's never just a DUI. There's always like extenuating circumstances. Nobody like, I mean, most people don't just like drive drunk on purpose. They're either dealing
Yeah.
with some kind of addiction
Yeah.
or trauma or danger or
Yeah, and we could like really easily just mandate that all cars have to have those breathalyzer things. Like, I mean, for real though.
Yeah.
And then, but it would like lose a lot of money because like the state makes so much money off DUIs.
Sure.
You know, it's like $10,000 a person,
oh, easy.
like
Yeah.
easy, and more in
That's
some
just
states.
a start. Yeah.
Right. So like, I that kind of just occurred to me that we could like, because I was thinking like a DUI, like that's the one thing I feel like I did that was really dangerous and like could have hurt somebody else, and I take it seriously. And like you're so right, there are other circumstances, and
What happened though?
so I would say Savannah, Georgia has like a huge St. Patrick's Day celebration. It's
Mhm.
like even bigger than the one in like Dublin, Ireland. It's
That
ridiculous.
surprises me for some reason.
Yeah, it's weird, but there's like an old Irish, like lots of Irish population in Savannah, blah blah blah, and
Weird.
it's very fun, and it's like warm there and beautiful, and so I was home for St. Patrick's Day with my boyfriend, first abortion boyfriend, also,
Oh,
and
this guy.
and we go out drinking and just like got so drunk, and we walked back, like the car was parked at like my mom's friend's house where I had a bed to sleep in, but I just got in the car and drove, and so I got a DUI. I did get like
Why did you get in the car and drive? If you don't mind me asking.
no, that's okay. So I don't really remember a lot of it. I did, when they did a toxicology, like a blood thing for me at the police station, they saw that like I had been drugged.
What?
Right. And so
Wait, what?
I know. So that's the thing. That's part of the story that I'm sometimes like, I got a DUI. That's simple enough for people. I don't want to like do the thing where I try to like excuse my way out of it or something. But
Yeah,
since
but
we're
I
here
mean,
and we're
come
talking
on.
about it. Yeah. So I got drugged. So me and my boyfriend were out. We definitely were over drinking and whatever, very, very drunk. But we were talking to these guys who were like in the military, and like,
Oh, I'm
yeah,
not shocked.
there are like so many people. I mean, it's St. Patrick's Day in Savannah. You're like shoulder to shoulder in every bar. It's very overstimulating, which probably also led me to like really overdrink and da da da. Anyway, I'm talking to these one guys, and one of the soldiers
I
starts
love
to
how
like.
you do that. It's so Cuban of you.
Oh, thank you. And it's that's funny. One of these soldiers starts to like have this really vulnerable conversation with me, and he's like coming out to me about his queerness, and like
Whoa.
his soldier buddies don't know, blah blah blah. And I'm like locked into this conversation, and like, you know, I don't know, like maybe I don't know if, and now I probably wouldn't like find myself in that sort of I don't even know. I'm high. I probably
whoa,
wouldn't.
dude.
Anyway, yeah. So this
do you
guy's
feel
talking
like
to me.
that was like a tactic to distract you, or
No,
do you feel
I
like
think
that
he
was
was really
genuine?
nice. I think he was really genuine. Then his like buddy, who is very, he's not super sweet. He's a little bit more like toxically male. Like just anyway, he offers to buy everybody shots. So he like buys all these shots, turns around, kind of like fucks with me a little bit, like tries to kind of touch me, and I was like, ew. And his friend who had been talking to me was like, hey. And then he made this like drunken comment, you know, he's like, I'm like buying her and her boyfriend shots, like I fucking touch her, like just being an asshole. And I'm so drunk, and like this is like, you know, we're all 20 and everybody like they're fucking soldiers and you know they're dealing with guns all the time. That's crazy. Like blowing off steam. We're all wasted. Anyway, this guy's being an asshole, not excusing what he did, just being like I'm telling this story now and I'm like, if I were in this situation as an adult, I would like leave, you know. But anyway, at the time I didn't, so we like took the shots. We're like, you know, whatever, and then I don't remember after that.
It's like what sucks is that really it takes being in a situation like that to gather up the courage or the wherewithal to know what to do in a situation like that.
Yeah, I think, yeah, yes. And I think too, like, I don't know, I've been really trying to like, for not, you know, not just for me, not for anybody else. Like, I think that I just used to really like drink and do a lot of like I did a lot of cocaine for a long time too. Like,
Sure.
but I think I was like really
Who didn't?
Who didn't, right? But just like really medicating myself through those kinds of spaces.
Yeah.
Which I just didn't realize. But anyway, yeah, I haven't thought about this in a while, and it's like, damn, that was intense.
The South is like so different.
It's really yeah, it really is, and like not in all the ways that folks say, but in a lot of the ways they do, and in a lot of the ways that they don't even think to say.
Yeah.
Which
and I loved it, but there is a darkness to that difference that is like just so oppressed. And
yes,
the oppression,
the desperation.
Yeah, the oppression turns into like repression, which like perpetuates the oppression. And so it's kind of like, because people oppress themselves is what I've noticed the most. And it's like it's so much of never being able to like, and you don't even know what's happening. That's what's so crazy about it, is like you don't even know that you have all of this like internalized misogyny, internalized homophobia, internalized like oppression that you act out on yourself and others. And so it's so hard to like heal collectively as a culture when there's like a lack of awareness, and then there's also like, you know what I mean? Like generational trauma that everyone is suffering from, and you're just kind of like, oh man, are we all fucked? You know?
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, I'm coughing. Absolutely. I think like, you know, like with capitalism or whatever, it's like these systems of
Final
oppression.
frontier.
Yeah. They like, you know, they depend on us in order to exist because they exploit us in order to exist.
Yeah.
Duh. So like, it's like everything that I'm doing that's not like actively and intentionally like super against like I don't know, like whatever, anti-capitalist, anti-racist, like decolonist, anything that I'm doing that's not that is probably in some way like upholding capitalism, like constantly. Like it's just so ingrained, we don't really even have a choice, we're forced to live in the system. So that's like such, I don't know, that was like coming to my mind when you were talking about us like oppressing ourselves. Like it's such this mind fuck of like, I can't even help it. Like we are forcibly complicit. And anything that we're doing that's not actively against that is upholding it, which is a lot of pressure, I guess, but also like in another way could be sometimes a relief, because it's like I can't hold myself to an impossibly high standard all the time, or hold everybody else to an impossibly high standard all the time. Like sometimes
I have a hard time with that. I wish I was more compassionate towards other people, like not feeling the way that I feel about so many things, because I have a tendency to dismiss people if I'm like, oh, you're not there yet, you know. It's like I really admire how like patient and like kind and compassionate you are to people who aren't there yet, because I just go right to like, fucking idiot, you know, and then I'm like, goodbye.
Yeah. Well, I think like, so there's this expression that I'm sure you're familiar with, but it's like, you know, meet people where they're at or whatever.
Sure.
And that's like, I feel like just now I'm thinking about why it makes sense to me, because it's like if we think about planes of thought as like an actual physical space or whatever, if I'm just like sitting in one little point like screaming my ideas or whatever, I'm not like really doing any good, or it might like feel good to me, but it's not always gonna help or really. But like in order to have a conversation and actually affect change, like sometimes we might have to like take the steps back or whatever. And also I think like healing for one person isn't linear, so like collective healing isn't linear either. Word. So like I used to have I would be so annoyed, or I could be like so annoyed that my boyfriend really likes football, and I'm like, football is so fucked up, and it's like,
I actually
you know,
wanted to know how you felt about that, because I'm like, John, from a distance, because I really don't know him very well, he seems like a guy's guy, and like the fact that you're dating him, I'm like, okay.
well, so he's like, I love him. He is really very
therapist,
compassionate. He's a therapist. Yeah, he did a lot of training, like he has like literally done a lot of training to sort of broaden his perspectives. But I think the biggest thing is that, like, what we were talking about earlier about like being willing to learn, that's like what John and I both try to do. So like he teaches me a lot.
Amazing.
And yeah, and like we really work on just not being defensive, because like being defensive,
And you can like football if you want to. I don't know why.
Right,
but you can.
exactly. And it's like, you know, who am I to be like there's a lot of things I could say to criticize football that are valid, and like, you know, it's racist and it's fucked up and it's like you know,
Hurts
it's
them.
brutal
Yeah.
and it's toxically masculine and all these things.
Gives them concussions and kills them.
It's really fucked up. And like, and
Sorry, I
all
didn't
of
mean to laugh, but
no,
it's like kind
it's
of
true.
funny.
And it's like all of that shit is true. And it's also true that like we can hold things in complexity, and there's a lot of shit that I like that's fucked up.
Like high fashion. And
like,
and the Olsen
exactly.
twins. Like,
Mhm.
I get it.
Right. So like whatever, have your football, but also like
It's like, I like the stuff they sell
Yeah.
at Target, even though I hate Target.
right. But we can just hold these things critically, because we don't really have an option to not do that, because it is so ingrained in our like everyday. Right. Or I mean, we could hold them not critically, but we don't have an option to like pretend they're not there.
Yeah. Wow. Ugh, you're so smart.
I
So-
think. I don't know. I mean,
no,
fuck
I agree
football.
with you. I agree with you, but also fuck football.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so just circling back a little bit. So you got drugged on St. Patrick's Day. And,
Yeah.
And then you drove, and then do you remember any of the arrest or any parts of that?
So I kind of remember being pulled over, and I sort of remember being like in the back of the car. I don't remember like getting to the police station, and I don't, and a lot of that is like gappy. But I have been told, so, you know, as is so typical, we were really close to my house where my mom and stepdad were sleeping. Like, we were like maybe not less than a mile, but like within 2 miles. And because my boyfriend was there, and he also was like totally fucked up.
Yeah, they probably did. He probably didn't get a toxicology report, but I bet they drugged him too, so that they
Mhm.
could like.
Whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
That's so fucked up.
Yeah.
Oh,
So he's
God.
like super fucked up too, and they don't know, like they would just leave the car, but they can't because he's in it.
Mhm.
So they like figure, I guess, between like him or I or something, they like get a hold of my mom to come get the car.
That's nice that they didn't tow it.
Well, they couldn't leave him on like the side of the road.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
'Cause he's a
Otherwise, they
human.
would have impounded it.
Yeah,
though.
exactly.
But that's so expensive.
Yes. So my mom came, got the car, got the boyfriend. I go to jail, but she told me, and this,
Pobrecita.
I know, she said that she came to like the car window, like she was like, "Can I talk to her for a second?" Which again, like lots of privilege, lots of privilege. Totally get it.
But this is also like your hometown.
Yeah. So she comes up to the window. I don't
And maybe
remember
these
any of
police
this.
officers know you. I don't know.
I don't know. Savannah's not that small. I didn't know them, but like I think, you know, they're just like, I don't know. I was like so fucked up. I was limp. So, you know,
Right. Scary.
yeah, right. So my mom comes to the window, and apparently I'm like laying down in the back, and she's like trying to talk to me, and she's like, Spenny. And finally I sit up, and she's like, "Can you like understand me?" She's asking me questions, and I'm like, so like, you know, eyes crossed, like calling her my manager, like weird shit. I know. She said that I
That's
kept
adorable.
I know. And then she's like, Spenny, like if you do anything, please ask for like a blood test when you get to jail. And I don't know if I
Wow,
asked for it or
smart.
if they did one. Yeah, but she like could tell. She knew that I was like much
More than drunk.
more than drunk. Yeah. Now that said, I have definitely driven under the influence of alcohol many
but
times.
That's so different, though.
It is so
because
different,
That's like,
yeah.
you know,
Mhm.
I don't know.
But nothing. So then like I
Because you
had
can drive a little drunk.
you can drive a little drunk. Yeah, whatever.
I mean,
Um,
don't, but you're fine. If you're not
As
an
long-
idiot.
Don't be an idiot. Don't hurt anybody. And like,
Go
but often
slow.
it's like it's not even worth it. Like,
Right?
I don't know.
Uber. Just Uber.
Just yeah, if
Or
you
Lyft.
can, or walk, or like, you know, plan
Oh,
ahead,
yeah.
or whatever. You know, there's like, I don't know. I mean, if you have to, if you have to. But whatever. So, Yeah, I went to jail for that. It was so horrible. I was like really sick the next day.
I
Like,
bet you were.
yeah, and I was in a
You were
fucking.
drugged.
I was super drugged, and I was in a holding cell that the water didn't work in,
Oh
and the
my
only thing
God.
they gave me all day was like a blue Kool-Aid thing.
Oh no.
It was horrible. Also went to jail barefoot, so I like left jail barefoot and was like walking down this long jail road. Like,
Did they let you out the next day, or how long were you in for?
I was there. Yeah, I was out the next day. I was out the next day, but it was awful. And so then that was the DUI, and that cost me like $10,000.
Oh my God, how bad did that fuck up your life for the next year?
Well, that was the thing too. I had been planning to move to Chicago. Like, I got my DUI in March, and I was supposed to move in May.
What did you come up here for?
I moved here to like do comedy performing thingies.
Word.
Yeah. And I was a live-in nanny when I first moved here.
Okay.
Which is wild.
Very like Latina role.
Absolutely. It really is.
And you still nanny? Is that
I
okay
do
for me
nanny.
to
Yeah,
say?
yeah. I still nanny. I really
You're
love
so
it.
good.
Thank you. I
with those
really like
kids.
it. Care work is like
I know way too much about your life.
That's okay. I put it out there.
They're so cute.
They are
and you are
cute.
so good with them.
Thank you. I don't know.
I mean, and you are raising them.
Yeah, their parents are around.
Sure,
They're
but
great,
you're there a lot.
and I'm there a lot. I love them. It's fun. It's cool. Like, kids, it feels really good to be doing something that's like, it's always been happening. We've always been doing this. Again, with like, this feels like this ancient like wisdom that it feels great. I wish that care work were taken more seriously.
Word.
Yeah. I really
Yeah, because you're literally the most important
job
like,
in the world.
Well, and this is the most important time in their lives, 0 to 5, and that's like when they're absorbing the much, when they're like defining who they're going to be for the rest of their lives. Like,
Yeah.
every study has shown that like the most development happens like, you know, emotionally, mentally, like in that time span. So you're the most important thing to them because they are that, well, and to the world because that's like the future of the human
thank
race.
you. Yeah, that's how I feel. I really think that you know, it's like, I understand why, and it's capitalism, that care work is so undervalued and, you know, whatever. But it's like super duper important. It feels good. Like, I'm really glad that I don't like go to an office.
Right.
That's cool for some people. I mean, no shade, you know, everybody live their life, but like for me,
That's hard as an artist though.
yeah, it's like really nice to like just do something that I've always been doing, you know, like I've had younger siblings and been babysitting, and it just feels like a part of me to like give some care, and like it's really rewarding.
And you make a Bernie Sanders minimum wage or more,
And
and you don't. Hopefully, you don't pay taxes.
I can neither confirm nor deny, but yeah.
But I mean, I think that's dope, and that's actually like a radical form of activism that I also feel like is undervalued, where it's just, you can't change the world, but you can change your own life, and like living outside of the context of capitalism, I think is such a powerful and fucking dope
Thank you.
thing to do. And like that's like, and I do feel like sometimes people would be like dismissive to be like, oh, you're a nanny, you know, but it's like, actually you are like killing it.
Yeah, dude. Thank you. Because it's like, you know, a lot of people, it's easy to like share a hashtag or whatever, and like that's valuable too. Like, get the word out there.
Not really, though.
But but it's like the amount of times that I see people who like speak and like espouse certain politics, but then do like look down on caregiving and sex work, which I also think is care work.
Fuck yeah.
That is like, it's really disgusting. And I've been frustrated too, even like in activist spaces, like in really, really intentional, thoughtful spaces, at how caregivers will still be like undervalued or like left out of the conversation, or just kind of forgotten about or whatever. Like, it even like the, you know, people will have caregivers there to like care for the children of the folks that are in the meetings or whatever, but just the interaction with these, I don't know, it's weird. People just like undervalue it, and I don't know,
And treat them like the help when actually they're the most essential part of their lives.
right. And it's just the same thing that we like, you know, we always, and again, the people that I work for now are really cool and I love them and they're great, but like in general as a society, I feel like we just really devalue. I lost my train of thought. I'm very
Devalue
high.
care work, but
Yeah.
but I mean, you're the best at everything that you do. So.
Thanks. Yeah, it's hard too. I feel like it's hard on my body. Like I'm realizing now I'm 28 and I'm like crooked from always like holding a baby on one side, because also you're not supposed to have babies for like a baby for all of your 20s. But like I've been carrying a baby on my hip for all of my 20s, like different babies. They're all sweet. I hate to see too like older caregivers being sort of like replaced. Like, to me an ideal world would have like space for intergenerational homes and like, the care that like the grandparent, or not even biological grandparent, but like the chosen grandparent or whatever is like investing into this child, like comes back in the way that they are treated and valued in the community. And I've seen a lot of times parents like have an older, like very experienced caregiver for like a baby, but then once the kid is like a toddler or a little bit more whatever, they just like shuffle this person out and like replace them with like a younger I've actually like been that, which is really weird too, especially like thinking about where I fit into like me being a Latina, but also like having citizen privilege and being like very white, and then like kind of replacing these like older Latinx nannies who like may or may not have citizen privilege, like are bilingual but are not fluent in English or like whatever, and like seeing where I fit into that. Like sometimes I have felt shitty. I don't know, these are like my very personal experiences, but
No, but they're valid and real.
Thank you.
And
like,
that's ubiquitous, I think, with a lot of girls like us versus like the older generation of people who are getting like pushed out because like they want someone who's younger and spry and like white passing with their children.
Yeah. And just, yeah.
But we'll accept lower wages,
Yeah. It's really, but it is beautiful work. I do love it.
So what do you think the apocalypse is going to look like, and when do you think it's going to happen? Because capitalism is, the fall of capitalism is imminent.
Yeah. Well, I'm really hopeful. Which
Bernie?
like, yeah, I'm really hopeful for Bernie. I've been
the work
really...
you're doing for him is amazing.
I'm
doing a different kind of work, but it's private. I've decided to
That's fine.
donate as much money as I spend on drugs to his campaign.
That's beautiful.
Thanks.
Hell yeah, dude. Yes.
So every time I buy like drugs or weed, I like match that amount to his donations.
I love that. I'm literally wearing, you cannot see at home, but I'm wearing my Medicare for All t-shirt under my sweatshirt at my nanny job. I'm really hopeful for Bernie. I sometimes really despair and like feel this intense like cynicism and hopelessness, but
most of the time that's how I feel.
It's tough. It's hard. Like and it also like with my mental health is on like an upswing right now, so I've been feeling a little better.
Gonna move in with your hot comedy boyfriend.
I'm gonna move in with my hot comedy boyfriend. Thank you. It's gonna be sweet. But Audre Lorde, I think, said, or I know it was Audre Lorde, said that, me too. And she said, despair is a tool of oppression. So I really try to remember that, when I'm starting to feel like the world is going to shit and like we're going to have water wars and blah, 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 blah.
Yes, I'm really worried about the water.
Me too.
I don't feel like people are concerned enough about how fast and like desperate the water crisis is going to be once it like hits that tipping point, you know?
Yeah, it's going to be, I mean,
sorry.
No, it's real. It's like very, wow, somebody's running upstairs. It's like, it's very scary.
There are a lot of puppies here.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
I just really try to like, as much as I can, come back to that idea that like despair is a tool of oppression and try to just not despair. And like my friend Prosper, who's a super genius, is working on this project right now, and they like shared a little bit of it with me, and they're talking about like basically it's a project to like help you pull out of feelings of burnout or like despair when you're in activist work or not, like just living in this world. And like one of the suggestions that they have, and their project is really cool. I don't want to like share too much of it or whatever, but just like looking around you nearby and like reaching to what work is already being done that you think could potentially like lift some of this for you or whatever, like some of this feeling. I think is like a good. I'm trying to avoid talking really conceptualizing the apocalypse. You're like, what do you think the apocalypse will look like? And I'm like, no, I can't. We can't think it.
No, I think that's great
Yeah.
because maybe I think about it too much and I'm really depressed.
It's,
You
dude,
know?
it's like so scary though, and it is a reality. Like, I don't want to pretend that like we don't have work to do, to like protect ourselves and protect ourselves from this shit. But I think like I've been really trying to like put my energy towards like, what can I do instead of like what is gonna happen, what is inevitable or whatever. I really hope that Bernie Sanders becomes our next president. And
too.
like really, really hopeful. I really am. Mostly because like I really want to impress men. You know, like that's what people always say on the internet. Or try to tell me on the internet that like I just like Bernie because I want to like impress men. That's like
so
the main
psycho.
criticism. I know it is psycho. Yeah, so I hope like, but I also recognize, you know,
Bernie's like he's like a father figure to me in a really wholesome way, like the father
Yeah.
I never had, you know what I mean, but
Mhm.
like desperately needed
mm-hmm.
in the way that he like it just you can tell so much about who he is and the way
Mhm.
that he speaks and the choices that he makes. Like that's my dad.
Yeah,
You know?
I really get that. Yeah, he's
But
wonderful.
not like daddy, but like
No,
that's
like
my
dad.
that's my
Yeah.
dad.
Absolutely.
And I want him to be the president.
I want him to be the president. Yeah. And like, and I really hope he will be. I think he will be. And even if like worst comes to worst and he's not our president, like the movement brought Bernie into the movement. Like the movement's always been going on and it will always keep going on. Like,
That's right.
you know, when he was young as fuck living in Chicago, like the movement was already existed and he came into the fold and like it's going to keep going and it'll outlast.
He's a real one. for
He is
sure.
such a real
You're
one.
a real one.
You're a real one too.
Damn.
Mhm.
Dude, you're so inspiring. I love you so much. I could literally talk to you all day. But we should probably go.
Yeah, we should probably go.
'Cause I think
love
there are
you
other
too.
people have to come in
Yeah,
here.
other people have to get in here and use this. Okay, well, thank you for having me. This is so fun, and I love you too. This is special.
Highlight of my life. Highlight of my year. You're my new favorite human. So I love you.
I love you too. Yeah. Okay, everybody, be nice.
Yeah, and wait, what did you say? That despair
Is a tool of oppression.
is a tool of oppression. So like, be nice, be hopeful.
Yeah, be hopeful.
Vote for
sure.
Bernie.
Yeah, vote for Bernie. Mhm.
Okay, bye.
Ibana tata di, ungu sa tata, inside, outside.